All right, welcome back, horse guys and gals. We're back today with Mel again.
Hello.
I was able to con her into coming up today to help me with some horses. And so now for 2 episodes in a row, we have Mel on as our guest. So we were just outside working with Stella, but now it's like looks windier than shit out right now. And started to rain. So we came inside for a little bit and figured we would read some Reddit stories today. So I pulled up a bunch of Reddit stories off of the equestrian, r/equestrian subreddit. Are you on Reddit? Do you use Reddit?
No, I do not.
No. I'm not on it a lot, but I got on it because there's another podcast I listen to that does Reddit stories, and I was like, what even is Reddit? It's basically where, like, the worst people on the internet go to
Oh, darn.
talk shit about everything. So this is the r/equestrian, and then I have some from, there's one from another. A couple of these stories I think I've read before on past episodes, but they're pretty good ones, so I left them in here. So let's just get started, I guess. This first one is called, this one's a blunt one. It's from 2 years ago. From r/true off my chest subreddit, where people just basically like admit things that they shouldn't admit.
Oh.
So this one is titled, "If your horses escape, I promise to not contact anyone. Believe it." This is a message to anyone I live near about their horses. If they get out, that is not my fault. I am not obligated to let anyone know. They are your horses, your responsibility, not mine. If they are wandering around chewing grass somewhere out of their field, I cannot be held liable just because I see them doing so. Sorry, not sorry, but keep your fences fixed and your gates closed and your horses inside your property where they belong. I won't be helping or contacting the authorities about your horses that have gone missing. Done.
Okay.
He wasn't shy about it. But see, this is like one of those things that you could just keep to yourself, I guess. Or
you can talk to like your buddies or something
but
about it.
they had to go to Reddit to put this on there in case anyone lives near me, but we have no idea where this person lives. And they must not be from like a farm type area like we are.
Doesn't sound like it. I feel like they're more like maybe suburban, I want to say,
Yeah.
like more areas like that.
Yeah.
But where he's like, I'm not liable, I was kind of thinking like, well, legally you wouldn't be liable.
Yeah, no,
regardless.
nobody's
It'd be the
saying you're
owner.
liable.
Like,
And you're not even liable if you, like, see somebody's animals out and don't doing anything about it. Like, around here, people's animals get out all the time.
yeah.
I remember driving to the barn you used to board at once, and there was literally a hog just running down the road.
I know what hog you're talking about.
In a ditch. It was just running down the road, and I was like, oh, somebody's pig. It's just, like, tearing down the road.
I can't remember that pig's name, but yeah,
It was an all-pink one.
Yes.
And he just ran down the road. No hog confinement around anywhere. I was like, well, maybe he got out from somewhere. No hog buildings for miles around.
He was
And I
from my
like,
barn.
Was he really?
He was from my barn. One of the girls there, she was the barn manager. I think she had 2 donkeys. She had some rabbits there. She had the hog. I can't remember his name. But she had him there. Eventually she had a second one.
Wow. And I wasn't even close to your barn yet. I had, like, just turned off the highway, like, still 5 miles from your barn, and he was just running down the ditch. But I was like, okay. I think I maybe called the sheriff's office or something and was just like, hey, somebody's pig's out on this road or whatever. But, I mean, yeah, what are you supposed to do? Like, but this person seems angry. Like,
Yeah.
if your horses get out, I'm not doing anything about it, just so you know. Well, like, okay. What are you supposed to do about it? Like,
Yeah.
or why are you so angry about it? Like, people's freaking dogs get loose all the time. Like, in the town you live in, there's dogs everywhere. And people's cows get out all the time here. So it's like, animals just do shit sometimes. Or, like, break shit, you know?
I mean, I can tell you, so in a relatable way like that, speaking of the town that I live in, so there's this deer. If
Yeah.
you've seen that. Like that, so speaking of getting angry, like that's kind of annoying me because like we can complain about other dogs getting out and one specific specifically getting out, but everybody's like loving on this deer getting out. But it's been
annoying
times.
me too.
And I'm like, there's been like maybe 2 or 3 comments I've seen on this last post that they've made. Mm-hmm. I'm like, so why are we not complaining about this deer being out?
Yeah,
we're claiming it's a pet, but it's illegal to keep wildlife as pets, especially without a permit.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And especially without a permit. And you can't keep them in, and you can't keep them out because you just can't. Wildlife have to be able to go freely to and from whatever. Well, if it's a pet, you have to legally contain it.
I didn't realize that. So for the listeners, in this town Mel lives in, which is, I used to live there too, but somebody outside of town has this pet deer that they have tamed.
And it's a buck.
And I saw it's getting horns now. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, it's bonded with this dog that they have, like this Great Pyrenees big dog. And they keep showing up in town at people's houses and like in their driveway, and people will take pictures. But like any other loose dogs or loose roaming dogs, people get so pissed off and annoyed about because people can't contain their dogs. So it's like, I saw it like a week ago, and I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, okay, why is everybody so excited and loving that this dog and deer are roaming around town, showing up at people's houses? But if it was any other dog, people would be like, okay, why can this person not contain their dog? You know? But because it's with the deer, it's all cute and cool. Yep. It's like, somebody's gonna kill the deer.
And lately, it hasn't even been with the dog. So, like, I think the one, was it yesterday, the day before? It wasn't even with the dog.
Yeah, well, that's good. Like, I get there's only so much you can do with the deer. But the dog, it's like, if this was anyone else's dog, people would be pissed. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I was talking to my mom about it. She's like, yeah, I don't know, but it's getting really irritating. Like, contain the dog. Because I think the dog roams with the deer if it can get out and be with it or protect it or whatever. But it's like...
Well, because the Great Pyrenees are herd bound, like, they protect herds.
I think it's trying to guard it or whatever. Yeah. But I'm just waiting. Somebody's going to kill that deer. I know, like, some asshole, stupid kid, redneck.
I've thought about calling DNR about it. I'm not going to lie. I've thought about doing it.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to kill it or it's going to get hit. I mean, the thing is perfectly tame. It'll come walk right up to people.
The last post, they said that it literally walked up to their door and was at their screen door.
Yeah.
So,
well, for this person who's angry about people's horses being out, nobody's expecting you to do anything about it.
No. If anybody's liable about that, it's actually the owner about it. Mm-hmm. You don't have to call anything about it. You don't have to do anything about it. I mean, you can sit there and watch whatever happens if you want to. And then you can be left with the guilt. If that horse gets hit, you can be left with the guilt. That's your own problem.
Yeah, or you can be an asshole about it.
Yeah. You can sit there and complain like we just did about someone's deer.
But just so you know, nobody's like willingly letting their horses be out. No. If they're out, it's like an accident, kind of an emergency.
Yeah, they probably broke down a fence, or maybe there was a storm, or maybe, I don't know, maybe the horses pushed on something, or something
didn't get
fell
latched.
apart. Yeah, some didn't get latched. Some maybe like recently, I was watching the farm over the weekend. Maybe I forgot to latch a door. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I didn't get it tight enough. They pushed on it. Oh, what's over here? And they just took off down the road. Something spooked and they took off.
Nobody's just like, oh, my horses are out. Darn.
Or, you never know. Maybe somebody was riding bareback and they took off down the road and lost their rider. Too.
Happens. Mm-hmm. Okay, this next one is called Horse Ownership and Depression.
Oh.
Hello. I make this post fearing for the comments I might get, but it is an issue that has increased and I can't ignore it any longer. I'd rather be judged online than in person. I have a mare, a beautiful 2-year-old pony. I bought her for myself to keep at my grandparents' farm alongside another horse. There used to be more. Anyway, I've been struggling a lot with depression. I can't do anything anymore. My girl is taken care of. I go feed and brush, and I don't manage much more. Grandparents also help. My issue is that I haven't been able to keep up with her training. Her behavior has obviously caught on to that. She won't allow me to lift her right hind leg anymore. Farrier and vet said there's nothing abnormal. And when we walk, she often tries to bite or even kick. I just don't know what to do. I love her dearly. I feel so broken. What on earth do I do? So this kind of relates to Stella, the project horse we just got, that learned some bad behaviors too. But I feel like we can comment on this as both being people that have like experienced depression in the past. Because I know like at certain points in my life when I've felt really depressed, like the horses definitely get put on the back burner. And depending how severe it is, like I don't think that's a bad thing. Because I think there's a lot of people that associate a lot of guilt with not being able to ride consistently or do, be out with their horses all the time. But something I always stress to people is like, as long as your horse is getting fed, is getting watered, is getting their needs met for their care, you can come back to training later. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, it's inconvenient, like they're not being consistently ridden or they're not progressing, but in your horse's life, that doesn't matter so much as like making sure their needs are met. So,
yeah. I agree. I agree with you. I also think that spending time with her horse will help with her. Even if she's not doing any training, whatever, like going out, just sit there, spend time with her horse. I don't know how, like dealing with depression for me, I like being by myself when it comes to that stuff, and I'm just like being by myself regardless. Mm-hmm. Except for, of course, when I come and hang out with you, so. It all depends on my mood, too. Like, my mood can switch. So, when it comes to doing horses and things, sometimes you just have to get out there and continue to do things that you like. And sometimes doing something new. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it comes to, maybe she doesn't know much about training. Maybe it doesn't know. Maybe she just, I don't know. Maybe she just needs to learn something new and then teach. But even if it's not training wise, but spending time with that horse might even help fix some of that behavior.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just like watching the movies, the horse movies that you like, oh, well, I spent time with this horse and
suddenly
our
it's
relationship
magically better.
I'm not saying it's one of those things, but sometimes just even going out and spending time with the horse, it does help a little bit it takes a weight off your shoulders. And it makes things a little better for me when I'm with my dogs, for me when I'm with my horses, even just sitting there and talking to the horses and whatever the problem is, or asking the horse, how was your day today? And talking to him, petting him.
Not putting so much emphasis on the training, but just spending time with the horse. And it says this horse is only 2 years old. The horse has plenty of time. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not ruining the horse by letting it sit. The horse has got its whole life. Yeah. And really, a lot of people don't even start actual training their horses until they're like 2 or 3. So, having a big focus on training isn't really so dire at this point in the horse's life.
The only thing I will say about with training wise would be just don't let that horse push you. Mm-hmm. Don't let it get to the point where it's putting safety of yourself or you said grandparents?
Yeah.
Or parents?
Yeah, grandparents.
Don't let, to where it gets out of control of where somebody's going to get hurt, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then where, obviously, like, work with feet, so that way nobody's getting hurt in that sense, too, and they can still get care. But,
and even if the horse has an attitude right now, like, those issues can be fixed later. Mm-hmm. I mean.
Yeah. But, just go out, spend time with the horse, talk to your horse. Like, it helps with take some of that pressure off and a weight off your shoulders. Do things that you like.
Yeah, I mean,
even try something new.
Mental health is important. If you go out there with a bad attitude, in general, the horse is going to pick up on that. So, I mean, put your mental health first, and your horse will still be there when you get back.
Yep.
So, okay. This next one is called. The rest of these are all from the r/equestrian. Subreddit if anyone wants to read them, but parting ways with a long-term lease/trainer. I think it's finally time for me to make this post and get some opinions. I have been part leasing as a working student at a hunter jumper barn for the last several years. I have really come a long way with my trainer from when I started as an adult beginner. I've been hitting some walls in my training that I can't quite seem to grasp that are really preventing me from leveling up. Unfortunately, they are basic things that I haven't communicated well to my trainer, and they've assumed everything was fine until the last few months. We've worked hard to try to fix these things, but there seems to be a disconnect in the instruction I'm receiving in my own comprehension. Not surprisingly, I think both of us feel exhausted and frustrated after these lessons, and teaching probably feels like an obligation and not a joy to them. I'm not in love with the sport like I used to be, and my trainer deserves students that are all in. I do love the barn, the horses, and respect the hell out of my trainer, but I think it might be time to step back and either take some time away or find a different approach. I would obviously give a polite written notice, but how do I go about having these tough conversations? It's hard when you've built a relationship with your trainer over a long time. Any advice appreciated? Any thoughts?
Well, my question is there a specific way that you need to be taught, like, that you comprehend things? Because for me, sometimes, like, it depends for me when I'm, like, say at work, if I'm learning something new, sometimes, or even from school, when I was in school, some things I learn better hands-on, some things I learn better watching, some things I learn by listening, like, or doing multiple things doing two things at once. Like, if I'm watching and doing at the same time, it really depends on how you learn. And if you're not learning one way, maybe try a different way, and you need to tell your instructor, can we try it this way? Or are you really set on that you really need a different instructor? If you really feel that way, then it's probably best that you find a different instructor, do your research on who you would like to have, or go elsewhere. But if you need to, I'd probably have that conversation with this instructor and see if there is another way to progress with this instructor, if they have where you can continue with them. Because if you really feel like you've hit that wall where you don't think you could advance anymore, if they have taught you everything that they have taught you, where they don't have any more to teach you,
Yeah.
then it probably is a good time to find something that, or find someone that has more knowledge than what this one can give you.
Yeah. I think a lot of people kind of fail to realize that, like, trainers are also, like, just humans. And depending, it doesn't say, like, how old this trainer is, how long they've been teaching or whatever, but, like, one thing that I'm going through, like, with a few of my students is that they don't all teach the same.
Exactly.
They don't all ride the same. And so I'm trying to learn how does this student need to be taught. They need to be teachable, but I also need to be a coach that can help teach different types of learning styles and stuff. So if this trainer doesn't know how to teach you, then you need to find one that does, basically. But, I mean, if you're not communicating the questions that you have or the things that you're struggling with, then they can't help you. Because I always tell my kids, I know this is an adult beginner, but the same thing applies. I always tell my kids, if there's something you don't understand, if I'm explaining something to you and you're not getting it, just tell me that. Because I would rather step back, figure out a way to re-explain it, or me get on the horse and show you, because sometimes words just don't come out right, and it's better to just get on and have an example for the rider than to try to explain it badly. But if there's anything you're not understanding or you guys are not getting, you need to tell me so that I don't try to keep pushing and pushing and pushing you forward when you didn't get the thing that we covered 2 lessons ago. So take that into consideration. If your trainer doesn't know how to teach you, then you do have to have that conversation with them eventually, that, like, hey, nothing against you or your training or anything, but I think I need to find somebody else or find a different barn. And a lot of trainers, if they're busy, if they've got a lot of students and stuff, they're not going to be offended by that. Most of them are going to be like, okay, sounds great, because like, they're busy people. They've got a lot of customers. They got a lot of trainers. Don't think that just because one person, you, might be leaving or finding something else is going to, like, make or break their world. Most of them should be capable of being pretty professional about it and just wishing you the best on your riding journey. So, and maybe hunter jumpers isn't the sport for you. I mean, if you really have fallen out of love with the sport, you can take a break from the sport. Try something else for a little while and see if there's something else that you like, or if you come back to it with a trainer that you like, that's fine too.
Yep.
So,
I agree.
There's a lot of other fun sports out there. I've found the English people, it seems like, have the hardest time trying other sports. It's like once they get into this one sport, they can't do anything else. But
I feel like it's the most like pushed, most competitive sport for horses.
hunter
Like,
jumpers.
yeah, like one of the most, like the English stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's the most competitive horse sport out there. Besides like barrel racing.
Yeah, and what's weird is there's no money in it. They don't win anything. Like,
What? I thought they did.
no, well, I mean, I work at a dressage barn, so I guess I'm not positive about hunter jumpers, but I would imagine it's all kind of the same. And eventing is like they spend all this money and this time and hours upon hours training horses to go to these shows, and they don't win anything. There's no money. It's all like points. You get points and stuff, but
So what does the points do?
I have no idea.
Because I doubt all these people are breeding their horses. Because like in the horse show world for like Western Pleasure, like they get points, and I think those
Yeah.
points build up, and it like goes on your record, and it makes it really good on their breeding profile, or however you want to say, like on their record and everything, which makes the horse look good, and makes their stallion look good, because it shows, oh, that all these offspring
points.
have great points. Okay, awesome. So what are you gonna do with your horse? All you got on points.
Yeah. Well, see, those, like, the quarter horse people can go into the future fortunes and stuff where they, like, cash out and whatever. But, yeah, no, these, like, the barn manager at the barn I work at, I mean, last year they went to Ohio for the dressage, like, pony cup or whatever. She said it cost her, like, $6,000 to make that trip. They didn't win any money.
What?
No, they don't win anything.
I'm sorry.
I was
wouldn't be
like,
going to that.
oh my God, why are people even doing this? This is stupid.
I mean, I go to the jackpot. Well, not in the last few years, because you know, with cash, but at least you have a chance of getting some money
Yeah.
back, especially now that they've altered things. So like, you can go to the 4D and you can.
And it's only $25 to enter.
Yeah.
These dressage competitions, for one, they have to have all these vaccine records. You have to be a member, which is like $300 for you and one for your horse. So you both have to be members to compete in the show, and then you
What?
go pay all the entry fees for the show, and you got to rent a stall, and yeah, it's like thousands of dollars just to be there and do the show and compete, but then there's no money exchange to win back. I'm like, it's a no wonder like a bunch of rich people do this sport, because like these poor girls are over there at the jackpots in the Western industry, apparently.
Well, here goes mommy's insurance.
Yeah.
Money. Here goes
No
mommy's
kidding.
grocery.
I don't mean that literally either. I know there's a lot of well-off people doing the Western industry, but like I don't get the English stuff at all. So, okay. Next one is titled "Girl Fell Off Horse and They Put Helmet Back on the Shelf?" Today at our riding lesson, one of the horses spooked, and the girl riding him fell off and hit her head. She was actually unconscious for a few seconds. She had her boyfriend come take her to the hospital after the fall. The instructor took her helmet and put it back on the shelf after the lesson. Is this okay, considering the fall was bad and that the helmet is going to be used for other riders, just like it's been used so far? The barn offers riding helmets to beginners if they don't have one.
No.
That's like really bad.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, I've fallen off a few times in my helmet and I still use it, but she was literally knocked out.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, I don't use a helmet, but I know for a fact you don't reuse helmets like that, because you don't. If
Yeah.
you cracked it or something,
If
it's
there's
not going
like
to be useful in the
Yeah,
future.
they say if you can actually like, even if the plastic isn't dented, but you can feel an indent if you push on it, then it's supposed to just be retired or thrown away, I guess.
Just throw it away. If it's not going to actually protect your head, then there's no
Yeah.
use for it, unless you're going to return or like reuse it into something else.
Somebody commented, heck no, that helmet should have the straps cut off and go into the trash. To be honest, that's why most of this sub recommends buying your own helmet to ride in, even if the barn provides one. You never know when the helmets are treated outside of the lesson that you're in.
Oh.
I do provide helmets for my kids, but none of them have like really been fallen in. The helmet should have gone to the hospital with her. Technically, it should be tossed. However, it isn't uncommon to see a lesson barn throw it back on the shelf. Lesson learned, don't use the barn's helmet, buy your own. Yeah. I don't even know. I feel like that's really common sense. You don't,
You just, yeah.
you just don't
put it
reuse a
there.
helmet someone was knocked out in.
No.
Jesus. Okay. Next one is called Not Sure If This Would Be Controversial. So, I apologize in advance. In this case, this post becomes lengthy. I will do my best to post the abridged version. I recently took in a horse from a neglect case. He was seized by animal control, and my trainer got him from them, and I bought him as soon as I could. Because of the situation he came from, he needs a fair amount of rehabbing. Some of his issues would make him very recognizable, and he is a paint, so he already has some distinguishable markings to begin with. Because of the way that we acquired him, we don't have much information about his past at all. We know that he was at one point a lesson horse. From the very little information that we could gather, I believe he may be registered. We did not receive the papers for this, and he seems to have a decent amount of training under saddle, though he could use a refresher. It is my assumption that at some point this horse was used in some specific discipline or sport, or was originally bred to do something, but I don't know what. I am tempted to post him in the Purina Find My Friend Facebook group to see if anyone may know him or have information about him. However, I'm worried that his previous owner may see it, and if she does, may open a can of worms that I'd prefer to keep shut. I'd like to assume that she did care about him and perhaps ran into hard times and his care unfortunately fell by the wayside. Though I don't think this is ever acceptable, I find the thought easier to swallow than her just not caring about his well-beings. Any thoughts? Somebody commented, I agree with waiting to post him until after he's in better shape. You can also reach out to APHA and submit a DNA test and see if his sire or dam are both registered, which can help you track down a possible breeder. Somebody also commented, maybe wait until you've had him for some time to keep his looks better when you post. You could keep it short and say that you're just looking for info. What do you think?
I agree.
So a thing about the DNA test, I know that they're possible to do, but like I don't understand how people get APHA to do them.
I don't know because I haven't had it done. I've thought about doing it for at least cash because I've been told who he's out of. I was told his quote-unquote registered name, but I was told the name I was told is not his name, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was, with that, I think I'm actually a part of that group, or was at one point.
The Find My Friend
Yeah.
group.
Specifically by Purina, like the name on there. Like I'm pretty sure I'm either still a part of it or I left it at some point because I got tired of being like seen. But you can post in there, and I still see even on the other pages that you and I are both in that people post all the time when they go to like the sale barn and they ask about them.
Yeah,
like, they'll get the horse and then the next day they ask about them. And I mean, I think it's totally up to you if you want to wait. But if you, I don't know the situation that the horse came from. But I wouldn't think that the lady or whoever, the man, it could be a man, that horse came from would want to reach out because they could be embarrassed. They could have gotten arrested for all you know.
Right. If it was like, I mean, they were seized by animal control, so I guess if there was an investigation on it, you never know. I tried to have a DNA test done on a rescue mare that I had a couple years ago because she looked like she had a bag, or like she looked like she was an old brood mare. Like her teats were like very low hanging, very saggy. So it looked like she must have been a brood mare most of her life and obviously used that area. And so I called APHA one day and I just asked the lady on the phone, like, I think this mare is potentially an old brood mare. Would I be able to send in a DNA test to see if you have a match at all? And the lady on the phone was like, yeah, we don't really do that. And I was like, oh, Like, I can't send in, like, her hair. Like, because, like, when they register foals and stuff, you have to, like, rip the mane out to where it has the roots and send that in when you register them, because that's the DNA that they use. And so I was like, I can't just, like, pull out her mane and send it in and see if you guys have a match at all. And she's like, yeah, no, we don't really do that for the public because it's not that accurate. And that was basically the end of it. She basically just told us we don't really do that. And I was like, okay, so well, why do they send it in when you register the foals then? What do you need DNA for then? Literally. I guess if it's not accurate, or why can't I just, even if they don't have a match, that's fine. But like, yeah, so I don't really know how people get that done, because they told me they don't do it, but maybe it would work. The concerns I would have about posting, if you post a picture of the horse in its current state, obviously disclose that you just got the horse and it's in this state. It's not in this state because of you. But a horse that I got a couple months ago, Rojo, I have a vlog about going to get him if you guys didn't see it on my channel. But one thing the lady told me, because I got him from the ASPCA as well, very similar to this case. He was from an actual confiscation by animal control, and the people that had him and were hoarding these animals did get charged with animal neglect. And so I got him from the ASPCA and adopted him through them. But the one thing the lady told me was that they took my picture with him and everything, and she was like, I'm gonna blur out your face, or like put something over your face if we post this. And I told her, don't worry about it. Like, I don't mind being on social media. Like, my face is all over social media. And she told me, she was like, no, I'm gonna blur out your face. And I said, oh, okay. She's like, we've just had some experiences in the past where people online get really attached to these animals, and we've had like some stalking instances.
Oh.
And Rojo was kind of the cover horse, the face of this group that they rescued, and he was on like the news article and everything. And so she was like, in the instance that somebody has been following Rojo's story since he was rescued and stuff, and like the fosters sometimes that get really attached to them try to hunt you down and try to, you know, get information from you and stuff. She's like, for your own privacy and protection, I'm not going to put your face out there. And I was like, okay, well, that's good. So I guess I would be careful if this is a case like that and these horses got confiscated. For one, you're putting your information out there that you have this horse. But if people do know where this horse came from, keep in mind that that past owner is also still a human, and you don't need to send any additional hate or stuff like that their way. And if they're in jail, obviously they can't do anything about it. But if they see the horse online and get sent a bunch of hate for it, or if people call them out like, oh yeah, that was so-and-so's horse, I used to know that horse, I can't believe, you know, somebody let him get that bad or whatever. It's like, I probably wouldn't disclose too much information.
Yeah. I wouldn't tell them where you got him from, or just say a previous situation or something. Like, don't be too blunt about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, but like,
the whole you being worried about it opening a can of worms is a valid concern, because it definitely could. So
I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah. I mean, like, people should be held accountable for their actions and letting horses get the way that they are, but being somebody that is online and sees the amount of hate and like horrible things that people say about other humans, keep in mind that like that's still a human on the other end too, and you know, they're probably already dealing with the consequences of having horses in that condition. So, okay. This next one is asking for training tips.
Oh.
Hey guys, I am looking to work with my partner's horse. She has been a paddock ornament for a few years and was previously greenbroke and pretty much adores all attention she can get. Easy to catch, lead, etc. She doesn't know how to lunge. I've tried working with her numerous times, but she doesn't understand pressure from what I can see. This is the first time ever teaching a horse the basics that hasn't already been taught to them. I'm really wanting to teach her and become a better teacher and learn training. She trusts me from what I can tell and doesn't show any bad nicks so far. She's a Brumby and around 7-8 years old. We don't know her background, but she was ridden for a year or two before being a paddock ornament, so I really want to introduce some good stuff to her that will help her love work. She apparently pivots when you try to ride her now too. I just want a basic tips and tricks for teaching her how to lunge. Tips on what could cause pivots and potentially someone to suggest a good small training routine that will bring her back to work. I love her. I want to work with her and bond more than anything, and I don't love harsh training. Okay. From the language being used, I'm guessing maybe this person's from a different country or something because I didn't quite understand all of that.
That's a Brumby.
Oh.
They're very pretty.
A Brumby is a free-roaming feral horse in Australia. Oh. I've never heard of that before. Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that's what the thing said, but I've heard of Brumby before.
So that must be what they call their Mustangs.
That's what it looks like. Because that one actually looks like Hazel, but lighter.
Okay. So wild horses from Australia. Okay, so maybe this person is Australian then. Okay, so this is a lot like Stella that we just got too. Like she's just been a pasture pup her whole life, never really done anything. Teaching a horse to lunge, honestly, isn't terribly hard. The way that I do it, now everybody lunges a little bit differently, so I guess however the people do it. The way I do it is I just point the direction I want them to go and follow them with the whip. And really, anytime you get any sort of steps out of them, forward movement at all is progress. So if they move forward a few steps, back off. Apply the whip again. Keep them moving forward a few steps, back off. And just repeat the same process. Even if they're super close, if they're circling around you, that's the goal. Mm-hmm. So
that's literally what we just did with Stella.
Yeah. It's not going to be pretty at first. I mean, they're not just going to go out there and lunge a circle both ways or anything. It's kind of, it looks a little rough at first, but as long as you are applying that pressure with a release, using the whip, pushing them forward, and when they give you the right answer, which is to move forward, back off a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the horse will pick up on that as you go, but I wouldn't worry too much about if they're really close in your space right now. As long as you can get them to move off of the whip, you can fix the space later and kind of push them out as you go. But for a work routine, a horse that has done nothing pretty much its whole life, I always tell people, like, work it a couple times a week. You don't have to go crazy and start working it 5 days a week or anything, because these horses don't have the attention span or the stamina that like our broke horses already have. So what do you think?
I agree with you. That's really all I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, just do some groundwork with it. Get it used to like being in a routine, and if it's easy to catch and loves the attention, that's a great personality trait already. So 2-3 times a week, get it out, do a little bit of lunging, the picking up the feet, the desensitizing, spook proofing, all that type of stuff. And eventually you can work up to doing more days a week or longer periods of time. The really green horses that I have, I don't work with them for more than like 30 minutes at a time usually, because a lot of times you start asking them for more and more and more, and they're not used to being asked for anything at all, right? So it starts to get a little brain numbing where you start to see the horse kind of check out and get bored. Yeah. And that's a good indicator if you see that like, okay, let's just wrap up at a good place and be done for the day. Because you don't want to start to lose the horse and lose their attention or push them too far to where you start to encounter problems because you're asking for too much at a time. So, okay. This next one is a quick one. What are some of your trainer/instructor pet peeves?
You go first.
So mine is trainers. I guess trainers that think that their sport is like the end all be all of the horse world. Like there are some people in the Western discipline that think Western pleasure is the only way to go, or barrel racing is the only way to go. Or there's people that think that barrel racing is the worst and everyone that barrel races is a terrible person. Or just people that put down other disciplines or think that other disciplines are stupid. You know, like endurance isn't super popular in the area that we're in, and there's not a lot of money in it and stuff. And I think a lot of people just kind of dismiss it as like just trail riding or whatever, and that it's not taken very seriously, you know. And that drives me nuts about trainers, especially people that are teaching young kids that maybe don't have a certain discipline or direction they want to go yet. You don't just put down a discipline that's not yours.
Especially if they haven't even tried it.
Yeah. Yeah, or don't know anything about it.
Exactly. Haven't looked anything up about it or actually talked to anybody that has done it or anything like that. I guess one of my pet peeves is, let's see, because there's a few of them. I guess one of them is probably of like not giving the horses a break. And probably another one is basically running a horse until the horse's legs are run off. And by that I mean not letting that horse find its stopping point. Like I've seen
blowing them up.
Yeah, where the horse is completely blown up to the point where you want that horse to stand still. Mm-hmm. And that horse doesn't remember how to stand still. Mm-hmm. And you just slightly move and that horse thinks, oh, that means lunge. That means run. And that horse was so sweaty.
Yeah, teaching them to be overreactive instead of...
Yes. And that horse, like, when they were done with it, was tied to a wall. Mm-hmm. And that was probably the most, like, gut-wrenching. And, of course, I don't have the experience, and that's the other, like, I'm going to talk about a couple pet peeves.
Go for it.
That's the other thing about another pet peeve, is just because somebody doesn't have the quote and experience of hands-on experience does not mean they don't know what they're talking about or the knowledge of things. Because like for me, I may not have all the numerous trainings, this horse, that horse. I can't go through and be like, I've trained this horse, this horse, this horse, this horse. But I've read the books, currently still reading some books. I've watched the videos. I have you. There's, you know, all the time. I have other people that I can ask. But, so I kind of have an idea. And you just know when there's something going on and you can just see it and it's like...
Yeah, just because you're less experienced doesn't mean you can't pinpoint when something is wrong.
Right. And there's been a few times where, like, I've seen, okay, right there's where that horse should have gotten released. And it wasn't given that release. And that horse just kept going. And you just kept giving that horse, just getting on that horse. That horse should have had release right then. And now that horse is broken.
Yeah, and like trainers that don't want to take advice or don't want to hear it from anybody else. Personally, my stance on being a horse trainer is that we do not know everything. Not even close to everything.
No one will know everything.
And I've broke out several horses. I mean, at this point in my life, I've probably owned 15 to 20 horses, which is a lot. But I mean, I've taken several client horses. I've broken out multiple of my own horses. And I'm never going to act like I've got it all figured out. Or, you know, if somebody asks me a question or says, hey, have you ever tried doing something like this? Or what if you did something like this? Even if I don't take the advice, I'll always listen. Because somebody might have a good idea. And I'm not going to act like I know everything. So that drives me nuts when there's people that are like, I know what I'm doing. It's like, none of us freaking know what we're doing. Okay, some of the comments are unreasonable expectations. No, I cannot take an untouched 3-year-old kid's and make it a kid's horse in 30 days. No, your horse will not have enough training to compete at a high level in 90 days. It takes time, effort, experience, and strength to get there. So this person must be a trainer working with clients. And that's something I told Sunny's owners, the gray horse that I had in training. I don't know if he made it. I think he made it in a couple vlogs, but he was an 18-year-old appendix that somebody wanted broke out. And I was like, okay, I mean, if you're going to pay me, I'll work with the horse. And I worked with him for 30 days, and I did tell the owners, like, you know, it's probably going to take more than 30 days to get him there, especially at his age and not doing anything with his whole life. And at the end of 30 days, we had gotten to the point where I was just starting to do the mounting process. but I had not mounted or been on his back yet. And they decided to take him home, which was fine. But I'll always tell people, especially with young ones or old ones, all of them really, it's probably going to take more than 30 days. And I have some clients currently that it seems like they think that just because a horse is rideable means that it's safe and anyone can jump on it and ride it, kid or adult. And not having that understanding that, like, great horses are not just made overnight. I mean, it's a process for sure.
Well, it's just like that one horse that I was working with for a while. That's why I was taking it down the road, making it cross water. Until I was, the situation that you and I were talking about. And, what are they going to do one day when that horse comes across if I didn't do that? When that horse never seen water in its freaking life and has that point to have to do that.
Yeah. Horse has a meltdown.
Yeah. Nope, it's going to be in an arena and its entire life, and it's going on 3 years old. Like, yeah, it's, 3 years old. It's not going to be overnight, but expose them. Like, you gotta be exposing them, expose the horses. They don't need to be in an arena their entire life.
Yeah.
Don't need to be in a stall their entire life. They're horses. They need to be out.
Somebody said, be ready and on time. If your lesson is at X o'clock, be ready and on time. Arrive early enough to get your horse ready. Yeah, I have started with some of my lessons. If you're not here at the scheduled time, your lesson still starts at the scheduled time. So if you don't get a full hour, well, I don't know what to tell you. I got another lesson after this. So if your lesson's at 6 o'clock and you get here at 6:15, well, you just lost 15 minutes of ride time.
You're not the only trainer I've heard that will do that.
Really?
I've heard other people, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, especially the ones that are busier than I am and have, like, multiple lessons to teach a day. No, I'm not waiting 15 minutes for you to get here. And, once in a while I get people are late. I'm late once in a while. It happens. But, like,
I'm late
consistently. More often for you. Yeah. Mel is chronically late.
I can't help it.
But there are some clients that it's like, okay, you're late to every lesson at this point. I don't feel bad for you. So, sorry that you lost your ride time, but... Okay. Next one is called, Am I the Asshole for Wanting to Put 2 of My Horses Down? This one's recent. This is from 17 days ago. I own 2 mules, Jerry and Teaser. They're both severely traumatized to the point that they won't let anyone touch them anywhere but their noses. We can't even approach them with halters. They think that they have pretty much horrible feet and have actually hurt me before. They're horrible with their feet, I think is what she meant. And have hurt me before. But they are super low-key and they just want to be left alone. They are so terrified of people that the only thing sedating them does is take their fight or flight response down. Does it make me a bad person to think that it would be kinder to put them down if we can't find them a knowledgeable home? I've been around horses for 18 years. I've tried everything short of roping them to get them to be seen by a vet, but a vet won't touch them unless they're haltered. That's all she wrote. It's a tough one. What do you think?
You want my honest opinion?
Well, yeah.
In my opinion, kind of are. I mean, well, how old are they? I mean...
Yeah, it doesn't say.
Doesn't say. I mean...
I can see both sides.
I can see it, too, because, I mean, like, you got... What's her name up here?
Louise.
Yeah, Louise. Mm-hmm. I mean, she's untouchable, but you don't attempt... I mean, she's old. There's no reason to.
Right. So I get the side that, like... Here's the thing. With Louise, so for those of you that don't know Louise, she belongs to my boyfriend's family, and she's about 25 years old. She's a Belgian, and she is feral. So she's never really had any care in her whole life. She is still alive because at this point, she's still healthy. And her hooves, they chip off naturally. Like once they get long, they chip off the way that they're supposed to. And so far, she's not had any problems. However, I have had the conversation with my boyfriend before. The minute she starts to have problems, she needs to be put down. Because she can't just sit in a pasture and live a life in pain. Whether that means we have to blow dart her or whatever, you can't just leave animals stand around in pain until they die, because were never taught how to be vetted or never taught any basic skills in their life.
Right.
So like with this girl's horses, I would either try to find them like a sanctuary type home where they can just be pasture pets and live out there, you know, and be left alone, depending on their ages. I mean, it doesn't say if these are like yearlings or if they're, you know, full-grown adult mules. Or if you do find somebody that's really well experienced with rescue trauma type horses, you know, Mustangs, like the Mustang trainers are extremely brilliant people. I would explore those options before just jumping to putting them down.
Because it really sounds like, and a lot of times it works, is being out there and being with that horse, you have to spend a lot of time with them, and to be able to even approach them. And that's not saying, like, just because you could touch their nose, are you approaching them, or are they approaching you when you do that?
Yeah.
And when you do that, are you slowly able to go up? It takes a lot of time to be able to move your hand up when they're that spooky. And if you're, it'll be like an everyday thing, and probably a multiple times a day thing.
Yeah.
If you're really working at it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if the person that owns them now is not going to put that time and work into it, find somebody that will. Give them to somebody that does want to put that time and effort into them. These are mules, though. They're not horses.
No, mules are a lot harder to work with.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about training mules, but I do know that they're different in some capacity. Okay, let's read some of the comments. Somebody said they can't have vet treatment. They have bad feet, but can't have them seen. It sounds like they're living in fear, but they're also likely suffering physically because of their physical needs that can't be met without causing even more trauma. They are not healthy horses. They have serious issues that are causing them suffering that you've tried to remedy for years without making any significant progress. Psychological suffering is just as real as physical suffering, and not always more curable. And in this case, probably causing additional physical suffering as well. People who are accusing you of, quote, killing healthy horses are the ignorant ones. So, I mean, I can see both sides, really. I guess if the horses are truly suffering, if their feet are getting so bad that they can't stand on them without being in pain, like, it just depends. I wish there was more info.
Right.
Somebody said, you're not a bad person. Passing these poor abused mules onto someone ignorant, even if they mean well, could worsen their situation. So that's where I think you don't give them to anybody unless they are very experienced horsemen.
Right.
You definitely don't drop them off somewhere with somebody that just wants a pasture pet, because that would make things a lot worse.
Yeah, they definitely wouldn't be able to get their feet done. They definitely wouldn't be able to get caught.
It would probably learn some worse things. So yeah. It sounds like people are siding with not the asshole, from what I can see from the comments, but I would say you're an asshole if you don't put the effort into to put them first. If just putting them down is the easy way out, then I think that's not cool. Okay, last one. Somebody let my horses out into the road. They should send this one to the other guy that's pissed off. Pissed off about horses in the road.
Sorry if I just blew out some eardrums.
I probably did too. Okay, I'm so angry I can't even see straight. A week ago, my friend and I started leasing a beautiful pasture and a massive barn together for my 3 horses and her 4. It's secluded, loads of storage space and stalls, and far away from the main road while being super close to both of our houses. Last night around 1 a.m., animal control was contacted because all of our horses were out in the main road. The gate, which latches with a heavy chain and the fences are sturdy, was wide open, pushed all the way up to the fence. Thankfully, the neighbor/friend managed to find everyone safely and put the horses in a field for the night. We're getting locks and I'm installing cameras, which we should have done anyway and had planned to do. I'm so angry, mostly at myself for not putting security measures in earlier and partially because someone let them out. I foolishly thought that since you couldn't see the barn/horses from the road and it's a rural small town area, it would be fine. Ugh.
Ugh. You know what that kind of sounds like? That kind of sounds like the stories from a few years ago that I was hearing about or reading about, where like people that were members or hardcore PETA were going through like barn stalls and everything and just letting horses and other animals out.
Jesus.
That's what it sounds like. And correct me if I'm wrong, anybody like that can do in the chat and everything else. I'm pretty sure that was going around, that was happening. The people that are like hardcore into that kind of stuff, like they were doing that. They would go and let animals out, break into places and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that's what was happening.
Jeez.
I'm not saying that's the case, but
Yeah. This is why I literally can't imagine keeping horses somewhere that someone doesn't live on the property. All the barns I've ever boarded at, people live on the property. I obviously live on the property with my horses now, but it is a terrifying thought to just like leave my horses completely alone and unattended somewhere. So if you don't have cameras, you're keeping it a lot cooler than I would. I'd be like a ball of anxiety all the time. Mm-hmm. And especially like with the storms that we get here and like the trees falling down or like, I couldn't do it.
I tell you, when I get my place set up, and for all the viewers, for all the listeners, I haven't even told my parents yet, so now you guys, like, you know before my parents, so feel special. We recently we haven't closed yet, but we were buying a property. So, like, now that I'm mentioning cameras, now I'm kind of thinking maybe we should put cameras in there too.
Mm-hmm. It'd be nice.
It would be nice, because with how that barn's set up, I don't remember exactly how everything's set up in there. Mm-hmm. But I was even talking to Joe about how with stalls and stuff, and he's like, oh yeah, it'll be plenty big for as big as stalls that I would like to do. Because I would like to have one set up for like a foaling stall, and then two for like just Cash in April, and you know. And I'm like, I don't know, like, it makes me nervous just even being on the property and having them in there a little bit, because it's like, I don't know, something could break, they could bust something, the walls just how they are now, like, it's not ready. But even with the storms, you never know. Mm-hmm. Then with, like, even where they're at now, when I leave them in a stall overnight, I even, like, double check, are they okay? During storms, I even ask, are you guys okay? And I've even asked when we've had, like, tornadoes go through. The one was, like, 2 miles away from them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are they okay? Yeah. It makes me nervous, because I have no clue.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean.
Well, I have experienced people coming onto our property before. Yeah. So I have a camera in the other room there that like faces our driveway. So like I can't see each individual pin, but I can see if anybody has been in or out of our driveway or has been on our property at all. Or if a horse was loose and started walking down that way, I could at least see it. But we also have people that hunt around this area and around our property. The landowner lets people like hunt in our timber and stuff. So I have always just kind of been like really weary about people being around, you know, even if they don't have any malicious intentions, if they, you know, cut fence or something. Cause like people are stupid. Like my boyfriend's farm down the road, people have cut their cow fences just to go through with their 4-wheeler or something. And I was like, we'll just cut it. And so like there are people that do stupid shit like that all the time. And the instance we had with someone coming onto our property, I think was friends with our boarders at the time, which don't get me wrong, it really annoyed me. But they had asked me like a month before or something if they could come get some stuff or whatever that was my boarders. And I was like, I just didn't respond because I was like, why do you need to come get it? I'm pretty sure they came and got it at some point when I wasn't home because stuff was gone. So after that, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to put a camera out so that I am aware of who can come in and out. And that way, so like when you guys do chores or whatever, you know, we've asked family members to do chores too. If they forget or don't show up or something, yeah, I can see on the camera like nobody's been here for hours. So I can go from there. But I would definitely recommend some sort of camera footage. The hard thing about a lot of the cameras is a lot of them take Wi-Fi or need to have Wi-Fi of some sort. Otherwise, you can use the ones that take like an SD card, but then you can't do anything at the time being. You have to like take the SD card out of the camera, plug it into a computer to be able to watch the footage.
And
but
it's not live.
Yeah, that doesn't help you in real time if something's happening. But I definitely get something put in place on your property and figure out, are there neighbors that don't like horses? Has there somebody been using this property before you guys moved in?
That's a good point.
Because like we've had people like over there that have used the timber or like squat in the timber and stuff because they know that nobody's around and maybe somebody was using this property and now they're pissed off. So I'd look into some stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's all the Reddit stories that I have. So
that's it.
Yeah, we'll
That
have to
was
find
quick.
some more for the next time. But thanks everybody for listening. Thanks Mel for coming on again.
Yeah, thank you for having
So,
me.
It still looks
It's
windy
fun.
as hell outside. So
Yeah.
we might just do a trail ride without Hazel.
No, that's okay. We can still go.
But yeah, I even gave her 2 doses of CBD too.
Ooh.
But with as spooky as she is, I think a nice calm day would be better for her. But we should still go on a ride.
Okay. I'll say, do you want to even try ponying her, like, even without riding her?
Yeah, I don't think so.
No?
Well,
Okay.
we'll just do it on a nice, not windy, calm day.
Okay.
And see how it goes. But all right. Thanks guys for listening. Stay tuned for the next one.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and
Yeah.
don't forget to leave a comment down below.
Yes. I'll do all the things. All right. Bye.
Bye.